Hey, welcome to ZooBricks. My name is Maxine, and today I'm at Manchester Central Station for Bricktastic, the UK's largest Lego show. And I'm sporting some really cool custom hoodies that I had made by one of our zoo suppliers, so let's see how many people notice. Now, in the main foyer, one of the first things to be greeted by was, of course, my Raccoon tapestry, along with the rest of BrickAlley's tapestries that they had created and brought along. What a cool way to start the exhibition. And of course, the main hall was incredible. This used to be a train station all the way since 1880, all the way through to 1969, and it was closed down and then reconverted into a proper events facility in the 80s. The first exhibit I was met with was this super cool aliens exhibit where they had recreated the base, which was really well detailed, and you could even go around the back and see the underground components as well. This was one of the largest builds at Bricktastic. There was quite a lot of detail in it. There wasn't loads of huge builds there. With it being the largest UK one, I was expecting quite a lot of big builds. The only thing I can kind of see that the differences between the UK events and American events or Canadian events is that British people maybe don't have as much room in their houses. Maybe you guys have a different theory on that one, but maybe that's why these big builds, you don't see them too often. But this was certainly like the tallest one there with this huge skyscraper, which was pretty cool. Now, this display was certainly one of the most popular displays at the event, and it was a collaborative build by a Lego user group, I'm assuming near Manchester. And there was loads of different types of AT-ATs that have been created into different things. You had dinosaurs, there's a semi-truck, there's an anatomy model, which is so clever. We had tree houses, Shadow of the Colossus characters, a working camera, which was kind of beaming onto a screen there. An AT-AT in sheep's clothing. I mean, that's just ingenious. I love that one. And there was one commemorating the Fairy Bricks charity, which is what the event sponsors. This fairground exhibit is always super popular. There's so much going on, and I remember seeing these guys up at the Shildon Brick Show, so it was pretty cool to see this set up again. I was blown away by some of the build techniques on some of these builds. They were just incredible, and the rock work was amazing too. And there's also a few builds that have been entered into the ideas competition to see as well. Another theme that was quite popular was these kind of miniature style builds, where everything was tiny. It was so great to meet some of the Lego builders here, and they were super keen to show me kind of the ins and outs of some of their builds and to see the level of detail and the amount of effort being put into these builds, just so that you guys can see them when you visit the show, is just amazing. It's very inspiring, and you go away with lots of ideas. Here is Hogsmeade and Hogwarts in miniature. The detail was insane. So there's the Hogwarts castle there. Around the back you got the Quidditch grounds in tiny as well, and there's a tiny little brown bridge. And even around the other side there was a Hogwarts Express. It was pretty cool to get to see a couple of the Lego ideas sets that have been submitted. This one has already got 10,000 votes, so it's currently kind of under consideration because it fit all of the Muppets CMF figures into it, and you could slide in and out the different sets into the actual stage there. So you can basically tell your own stories. So there's 4 or 5 different sets there that you can slot in and out. Really clever. Here is another example of a massive micro landscape of a city. I mean, it was huge. But what was really cool about it was because it was so compact, it was modular. They could just literally pull it apart, stack it up, put it in the back of the car, and it was good to go. And it was pretty impressive. This is the biggest Lego convention event that I've ever been to, and it was so impressive to see just the range of skills and just the imagination that goes into some of these builds. I was blown away. And it was great every time I got to see animals as well. Lots of inspiration. This was a cross-section of the Titanic, and it was a huge build, to be fair, of all the different floors, some interesting characters hanging out. And there was a Niffler hanging out in the bank section, and of course Jack and Rose on the top deck there. Now this was one of my favourite displays just from a creativity point of view, and it's the entire movie of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, starting at the very beginning with the King Arthur and his trusty little steed with his coconuts, moving on to the scene where they're trying to figure out if they're witches and if they're heavier than ducks or geese. Then moving on with his little army to the man who just has a flesh wound. I thought that was very, very cleverly done. Quite a few of the displays integrated mobile phones playing movies in them, which I thought was a really cool touch. And this was actually playing a Monty Python Lego video, which I haven't actually seen, so I need to Google that. And then This was at Castle Dune, which is where they all were trying to infiltrate with their giant wooden rabbits. And Fetch le Mou, there's the cow that they're about to fling over at them. And they go into the forest to meet the Knights of Ni, the three-headed knight, which is a very clever minifigure build. Onto the castle where all the ladies live. Meeting the naughty bad guy, and of course ending up in the caves with a life-size version of the holy hand grenade, and then of course going down to the cave with the evil white rabbit and the scary green dragon. Going over the bridge where they have to answer 3 questions and then getting arrested by the police. So, I mean, what an epic way to build a Lego set by telling a story. Lilo and Stitch, followed by Cruella de Vil and obviously her Dalmatians. Then Toy Story, Beauty and the Beast, Mary Poppins maybe? Then The Little Mermaid, then WALL-E, The Fox and the Hound maybe? Or Aladdin, we've got Rapunzel, maybe's Bambi. Oh, that one also looks like Aladdin. Oh god, Pirates of the Caribbean, Cars, and Moana. I think I did a terrible job there. And Pinocchio. Not too sure what the red hair girl is, or the next one. That looks like Stitch again. And The Lion King. Absolutely loved the base plates that these little sets were displayed on. I thought they were really clever. There's a lot of work just gone into them, let alone the actual pieces themselves. Now I'd say this was probably one of the largest displays that was there. It was kind of like a Mars kind of moon landing, moon base thing with lights and everything, and like it's an insane amount of red. And around the back they provided you with little flashlights so you could actually look in to see all the details of all the like docking bays and all the little rooms where these little people work on this moon base. And there's a monorail train on the top of it. It's just solid brick. And there's all kinds of stuff going on underneath the red. So what an incredible build. So much detail, so much black, and so much red. But that was huge. Now, exhibitors only get Friday to set up for this, so they don't get loads of time to put these together. So it's pretty impressive what they managed to do in a day. I've never actually played Minecraft, but this is a pretty cool build, and Lego just lends itself perfectly to making itself look like Minecraft. So I was pretty impressed by the scale of this, the dedication to this Minecraft build. Now here we've got like a custom natural history museum. So it's a little bit different than the one that's just been released. I love the floors in this and the huge dinosaurs. There's a mammoth skeleton there as well. Just the detail in the museum build is insane, and it looks like the same builder did the scene from Lord of the Rings as well. Now, some of the builders built in some interactive elements to obviously keep the kids interested. So you could turn this, and there must be magnets underneath the Lego there that help pull these along. The lady that built this display with all of the monochrome minifigures also built the steampunked AT-AT that we saw earlier. These are recognizable kind of like music video moments, so it was quite interesting trying to guess them. There was so many different types of castles. I definitely want to build a castle to put in the zoo because they look super cool when they're done. And there's an interesting way that they've used bricks here sideways to do the base plate. Here's another type of castle, which was just like a proper like fortress type one, which was completely walled in, like little village. On the inside there, they were having like a market. On the outside, you can see there's a herd of goats there. And of course, we have the king of the castle, who is one of the Disney CMF characters, hanging out at the gate there. But the detail was amazing. And just on the corner over here, just past the goats, there was some tiny knights, tiny little knight minifigures having their sword training. There was only a few train ones that I remember actually running. There was probably about 4 or 5 in total. Not as many as what I thought there would be. This one was right back in the back corner, so I'm hoping that people got to see it. One of the great things about the show was that some of these bigger displays, they tried to make it a little bit more interesting for the kids to like spot this and spot that, and you know, it was really cool, but sometimes when you got to spot like 6 things and you got to move up and down the table, it can be really frustrating for like adults trying to get in there and have a little look if they're spending about 20 minutes trying to have a look. Here's the Mandalorian landing platform from the Mandalorian series. This display was getting quite a bit of attention. We have the controversial episode 1 of the Star Wars movies where they do the racing. But what a cool set. So the way they've done this is they've actually got a train track underneath this floor that they've kind of built up from and mounted the little racers on. There's some recognizable Star Wars characters in the stands there watching the race. Again, another moving display, which must be magnetic, of all these little bumper cars going around. What a cool little set. So much detail and effort's gone into this. It was really impressive. Then we have a mini mall featuring shops, a wig shop and some sort of like costume shop, and also a gym, rock wall for climbing, and there's a little gift shop with soft toys in it as well. You've got your movie theaters, your restaurants, all kinds of stuff, and it's set up in this huge complex. I didn't see whether or not this was a collaborative build or this was just a single person's build, but I love the lampposts and the detailing on the floor. And of course it has like a mezzanine, like a second layer of shops on it as well. It looked like a Five Guys was there underneath the Lego store. It does look very Five Guys, but I could be wrong. But they had a filming studio and another cinema at the other end of it. I really like it when the builders actually get like a background, a backdrop to put behind their Lego sets, because it makes such a difference when you're trying to like film or take photographs. It makes it look like a little world. It's very difficult to do that in like an exhibition setting, but because this was like a huge wraparound railroad display, they could easily put these walls in the middle, and I thought that was a really nice touch. And of course all the animals. Although if I feel that if those animals had been at the zoo, they would have like destroyed each other by now. This build was super detailed, and there was like a remote controller that you could push that would create like storms and like lightning and like scary sounds from the house. There was all kinds of stuff going on. I don't know if it was in reference to something. I do apologize if I've missed the point of it. But the detail inside of the house and out was amazing. So if you have any more details on this and you want to share, just let me know. These are the only Lego minifigures that came with springs in their legs, so they can actually do the springing action with the basketballs, which is exactly what they're intended for. They were like NBA players, so very rare, and they were obviously part of this massive great ball contraption. For those of you who don't do Lego that much, a great ball contraption is like a huge kind of collaborative display where everyone brings a bit. They all have to have the same specification where they all start and end in the same way, just so that you can slot them all together really easy in just one big build. So the idea is just to keep the balls moving. And then they let members of the public have a remote control at the end there to control him. I think a child was controlling it at this point because he was just going in circles, but their job was to kind of herd the balls into the little hatch on the other end and continue the movement. Here's a little set that's currently on Lego Ideas trying to get the 10,000 votes. Again, if you don't know about Lego Ideas, that is a platform where people can submit their own designs and it goes to public vote, and as long as it gets 10,000 votes within a certain number of days, then it goes forward into like this next pool where Lego actually take a look at the designs and decide whether or not they want to make them into a real set or not. So this Highland cow is probably met its 10,000 votes by now, but it would be super cool to have something like this in an actual Lego set. And I think that's enough for one episode of Bricktastic. What I'll do is I'll put the rest of the show in my next video, just so that you don't get too Lego overloaded. Was there any of those displays in particular that you liked the most? Let me know in the comments below, and please do remember to like this video and subscribe to the ZooBricks channel. I shall see you soon.